Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Come Saturday, delegates of the Grenada Football Association will choose between incumbent Cheney Joseph and his challenger Malon Glean for the man to lead the country's football for the next 4 years. Joseph is seeking his 4th term in office. Glean, meanwhile, is a former FIFA regional manager for the Caribbean. He joins us today along with Bernadine, President of the Central Conference of the Grenada Football Association, the GFA. Viewers should know that we did invite Cheney Joseph here to talk about his candidacy. He declined. Malon Glean and Bernadine join us now. Good afternoon, Malon. Good afternoon, Bernadine.
Good afternoon, George. Thanks for having us.
Good. All right. Let me start with the man whose name is in the hat. You have your stake on the table. What is it that Grenadian football will get if they make you president on Saturday?
So, George, let me give you a bit of background. I'm a former national team player. I've played youth national team for Grenada. I've also played on the senior national team. Additionally, I have a degree in marketing and finance through a football scholarship to the University of South Carolina. I'm also an attorney. I've went to law school in the UK and practicing Grenada for a bit. I'm also a first vice president of the Grenada Football Association. I was the vice president somewhere around 2009 or so. But additionally, over the last 5 years, I've been the regional manager for FIFA, which means I was responsible for the development of football in 22 countries around the Caribbean. I've recently resigned my position, and I'm back in Grenada. I recently moved back over a year ago, and I'm here to contest the position as the FA president. Now, in terms of what do you get from me, if you look at the football in Grenada over the last 20 years or so, we've on a downward spiral. The standard of football today is atrocious. We have no programs, no youth development programs, and it's reflected in all of our national teams. From time to time, we do get a result. If you look at our current national team makeup, you'll see that probably about 75% of the players are coming from the UK, at low league teams in the UK. And I think that is as a result of our lack of development or lack of programs over the last 20 years or so. If you remember clearly, Grenada was one of the dominant countries in the Caribbean in football. In 1989, we placed second to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean Cup finals. The current president, Mr. Cheney Joseph, was a member of that team. So we've had some really good footballing over the years, but in recent times, the football has been poor. There's no development programs. Our coaches are struggling to get certified, to get licenses. Our players, local players, are not getting opportunities to play, even on the national team, which is sad, because we bring in players, a lot of the time, some of them are subpar or below par, and they're playing before our local base players. We have a Premier League with over 200 players, and presently, probably 5 or 6 of these players are in the national team setup. So in terms of what we get, we're going to get lots of youth development programs. We're going to get lots of opportunities for our coaches. And additionally, we're going to change the structure of our leagues. The present league right now, the winner gets just under $20,000 US. And if you come 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, you get $0 or nothing for participating in the Premier League. We say we need to change the structure. Going forward, teams should be looking forward to somewhere around $100,000 for the first prize, and then $60,000, $40,000, and then everybody who participates in the Premier League should get at least $20,000. Because what we're saying is that teams are preparing for a league which runs an entire year. There's uniform, equipment, transportation, payment of coach, and you come 4th or 5th or 6th, and you get absolutely nothing at the end of the season. So this needs to change.
So the question then is, Marlon, thank you for that. Cheney Joseph is seeking a 4th consecutive term in office. Is it that he has lost the ability to provide the intellectual and inspirational leadership that the GFA needs? Is it that he never had it in the first place and he was persisted with? Is it that he is a distracted leader who's not focusing on administering at the top so that the nuts and bolts at the levels below fall into place and the cogs move? Or is it a case that he is not getting the support from people within the football and the problems you cited have mushroomed as a result of that? I've given you a range of things. You can choose one or most of those, or you can give me one that I haven't thought of yet.
No, I think he's run out of ideas. I think when he came in, he had good intentions, and I think he's given a lot to the football. You know, Cheney was a very good footballer. I think when he started off, he had the right intentions. In speaking to him, let's say 12, 15 years ago, he had good intentions. But over the last 10 years or so, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over, and we're expecting a different result. The football right now is in shambles. You go to a Premier League match right now, and it's probably 30 or 40 people watching the game. Nobody's interested in football anymore. Matter of fact, the GFA presently probably has maybe one sponsor for its under 15 competition. And after that, the Premier League, First Division, whatever other competitions they have, under 19, there's no sponsors. Nobody's interested in supporting the Grenada Football Association, because it's a very poor product, and I don't think anybody wants to be associated with it.
I'm going to bring in Bernadine now, and Bernadine, you know, Malon touched on the fact that nobody really, sponsors aren't really drawn to the product. I tend to believe that the youths, you know, they have a massive part to play in where country is headed in any sport whatsoever. Can you talk to us about, you know, the youth program in Grenada, if there's any?
Well, good evening to all our listeners. Thank you for having me on the program again this evening. At present, in the Grenada Football Association, there is absolutely no structure. There is no serious youth program. What they try to do is to run a U15 and a U19 tournament every year. And they only started that maybe like about the last 3 years or so. So there is no structure where a child or a kid can come into the football from 6, 7 and grow up to the point of being a teenager. So you're asking about a youth program, and a youth program literally doesn't exist right now. No structured youth program.
So do you feel under the current president that, you know, the future of Grenada football is not headed in the right direction?
Under the current president, it certainly is not. I believe that the president now has lost his focus, and he's not willing to listen and work along with the persons who can actually assist him with doing what has to be done to get the football to the next level. And I also believe that under the leadership of Malon Glean, we will see that kind of change taking place. Because as it is right now, we already have a plan as to how things will proceed once we are successful at the polls on Saturday.
All right. Bernadine, you're president of the Central Conference of the Grenada Football Association. Can you, in a nutshell, just outline what your body represents, or what faction of the GFA as an overall governing body would represent?
Okay, so the membership of the GFA, based on the statutes, is the 10 Premier League clubs. And then the island is broken up into 4 geographical regions. And each region is called a conference. So we have the Eastern Conference, we have the Northwestern Conference, we have the Central Conference, and we have the Southern Conference. So that's the membership of the Grenada Football Association at present. So the 10 Premier League clubs, and then the 4 conference clubs that represents all of the other football players on the island, but broken up based on geographical location in Grenada.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you something now, which I'm going to ask Marlon as well, because you mentioned the 10 Premier League clubs in Grenada football. And there was a move some years ago, I gather, that about 7 or 8 of the clubs were banding together to oust Cheney Joseph. But the end product of that was that Joseph was unchallenged for the last election. Can you confirm that that is true? He was unchallenged for the last election. And what was the problem there in the move then to challenge him for the post?
Well, in the last election, he did go up unopposed. We did not see it fitting at the time, because we still felt that that we wanted to give him a chance. Because when he started off as the president, he made some changes. And his focus was on football at the time. And we still were willing to give him another chance 4 years ago. What I do know is there was an effort by his executive members after about 2 years into his last term to suspend him. And that is what happened, and that was unsuccessful, more or less.
Yeah. Marlon, I'm gathering from my football people in Grenada that this GFA general election is hotter than the national general election coming up with Prime Minister Keith Mitchell's NNP and the NDC, and a lot of bitterness and vibrant candidacy and campaigning going on. This appears to be the most intense GFA presidential election that we've seen in a while.
Yes, Lance. The elections at present is heated. The campaign has reached boiling points at certain instances. I think because the president has a legitimate challenger this time around, over the last couple of years he's gone unopposed. But this is the first time he's coming up against someone who is setting forward a new course for football in Grenada. And as a result, he's been resorting to a lot of unethical and some instances illegal actions. But we've stayed our course, and what we've done is to meet with the clubs and set out as to how we change the landscape of football in Grenada. We've met with each and every club in Grenada. We've explained, we've asked the question, are you satisfied with the standard of football in Grenada? And 99% of the time, the clubs would answer no. And we've seen it in our football, we've seen it in our leagues, we've seen it in our competitions. There's no primary school football anymore. Secondary school football is struggling. Football is really poor right now. And I think the president is trying to hold on because I think it becomes an institution. It becomes something that, hey, it's all about me and it's mine and I'm not going to let it go. And as a result, he's been resorting to anything possible in order to hold on. But I think our message is clear. I think our message has been well received. And as a result, we've gotten the support. And not just in football. I think in the diaspora, in Grenadians, regular Grenadians on the street of Grenada, regular fans, everybody I think is for the movement and behind the movement, and everybody wants to see a change.
Yeah, Marlon, I came across what was in effect a reference letter from FIFA under a FIFA letterhead, speaking glowingly about the work you did as a FIFA development officer, and looking at it, it almost looks as if it is, from a FIFA perspective, an endorsement of your candidacy for the GFA. You probably will know the document I speak of. Do you feel that way?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I'm not sure as to the thinking of FIFA at the time. Last week, Tuesday, I was up in my hometown of Guelph, and I went to play some football on Tuesday night. And come Wednesday morning, I saw that letter in my inbox. I've never had a conversation with FIFA on a reference letter. I'm not sure if that is their regular course of dealing. I would have resigned from FIFA sometime in April, early April, but I had about 7 weeks or so of vacation. So I've been on vacation since the first week of April or so. So my actual last official day of work at FIFA was somewhere around the first week of April, but officially my tenure came to an end on the 31st of May. I'm not sure as to why they sent the letter. It's a letter that was signed by the HR manager, FIFA HR manager, and also the director for the Americas, who I reported to. I'm not sure as to what compelled them. From my last working day at FIFA, I have not spoken with anyone at FIFA. I have not asked for a reference letter. So I'm not sure as to the thinking. In all honesty, I'm guessing that it's probably something they do with people who would have resigned their position. I know because I know in the general course of things, someone would request a reference letter from their previous employer.
Yeah.
I did not make that request, so I was surprised. I was surprised to wake up on last Wednesday morning to see that letter in my inbox.
Bernadine, here's the thing now, though. As a former, an executive of the GFA, Malon, there's an interregnum now because election is on Saturday. People will say that, wait, the big ideas that Malon is fronting now, why didn't he share those with Cheney Joseph? Why didn't he have those discussions? Is it that he bided his time as things unraveled while at the same time building up his own candidacy because his thirst for power is greater than his need to see the GFA improve, and he could have improved the GFA by sharing ideas, by discussing approaches to problem solving that he is now bringing forth now as his manifesto promise. I'm asking this of Bernadine because she is a part of the team that wants to see you be President, Malon Glean. So Bernadine, let me hear you respond to that.
Right. What I can tell you is that I know Malon for quite a while. In fact, Malon and I are very good friends. And with that position in FIFA, being the regional development officer, as he said earlier on, he was responsible for the development of football in 22 islands and countries in the Caribbean. And Grenada was included. So I am pretty sure the advice that he was given to Barbados, St. Vincent, Aruba, the Bahamas, that he was given the same quality advice to Grenada. I am pretty sure. So, and what I can tell you too is that as of when we are now in 2022, as of maybe January of 2021, Malon had no intention of vying for the presidency of Grenada Football Association. In fact, I was the one who was going to be running for the president. Because 2 years ago, what myself and a couple clubs did is that we were not satisfied with what's happening here. So we banded together and we have what we call a movement. And I was the person that was going to come forward as the presidential candidate, let's put it like that, when the election come up in 2022. But sometime into around early 2021, where I had the conversation with Malon, and apparently there were other persons having similar conversations with him. And it was only sometime last year that he agreed. So it is not something that, as far as I know, it is not something that he had up his sleeve. It was not something that he was planning and plotting. As far as I know, that was not in his thoughts at all until we approached him.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. I am pretty sure that he was providing quality advice, but as to whether or not the advice was needed is something different.
Marlon, let's get to the issue. You spoke about tricks, and we know how when an election is being held, the incumbent has certain control over the machinery and the process and has power to change statute. Of course, Shakespeare famously said, in all's well that ends well, frame the season for your own harvest. A lot of the times, incumbents do that. Is that at play in these elections? Do you have credible evidence that Cheney Joseph and those who would wish for his supremacy to continue at the helm of the GFA are stacking the deck against you and your slate?
Yes, George. Let me just go right a little back to the last question you asked Bernadine before we move forward. And I'll just let you know that everything I'm campaigning on, I had spoken to Cheney at length. Youth development, grassroots program. I've been pounding that to the GFA and to the president for the last 10 years, 15 years or so. And he's always promising to do it, but he never gets it done. And I keep saying to him for the longest that this is the most common sense approach to the development of football.
Yeah.
The more you invest in youth football, the greater the chances of you're going to get development.
Yeah.
But we've never engaged in youth football development. We've never done it. As a result, the end result is us going to England to pick up guys in the 4th and 5th and 7th division from clubs you've never heard of.
Yes.
To represent the national team.
Yes.
So this is the advice I gave him, and this is the same thing I'm campaigning on today.
Hear you. Talk to me about the machine now and the levelness of the playing field.
Right. So what we've seen, especially in the conferences, there's been a lot of disruption. We've seen individuals we know that are associated with the president literally created meetings within those conferences, illegal meetings, without following the proper constitution, without following proper practice, creating meetings, and from there selecting delegates, etc. We know that these things are illegal. We expect the electoral committee to deal with these things. The evidence are clear, the constitutions are clear, but what we've seen is a lot of movements, a lot of dirty movements within those conferences. We've even been told that there are 3 or 4 clubs where the president, who in most instances are supporters of our group, would have submitted delegates, but then individuals within the clubs with no powers to do so are sending in separate delegates to represent the same club.
Yeah.
So we know that this is a movement by the individuals close to the president, because we know all the individuals who are supporting the president, and most of the time we see these illegal actions or these unethical actions are individuals who are very close to the president.
Answer this then. Today's Thursday. Elections come up in about 24 hours. Have you had that delegate list to peruse, and are you comfortable with the delegate list going into the vote on Saturday?
The delegates list is not already approved by the electoral committee. I think over the next, between yesterday, today, and I guess by tomorrow, I think, a matter of fact, the clubs or the members have up to 24 hours before the elections to submit the delegates. So they still have until 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning. But we know that a number of conferences and clubs have already submitted delegates. So the electoral committee, I'm guessing, are looking at those submissions as of right now.
But that seems, that though, Marlon, seems rather untidy, because, I mean, if I'm going into an election and on Saturday, and Saturday morning, I'm finding out the final delegates list, well, where's the room for me to appeal to the independent arbiter, which is the committee, the commission, the electoral commission? Then it seems rather untidy. Are you comfortable with this at this stage?
It's in the constitution, and the Grenada constitution as of right now it's terrible.
I think so.
Serious.
Yeah.
It needs urgent attention, and it's something we're going to do once we get in office immediately. But that is one of the flaws with the existing constitution. As you said, only 24 hours before you know the actual delegate. So by the time you get it, a couple hours later is election.
Yeah, that's
correct.
That's really, you're a brave man to be going into an election with that. So here's the other thing then. How many total delegates should be on that final list?
22.
22.
So the 10 Premier League clubs
Yes.
each have 1 delegate. And then the 4 conferences each has 3 delegates.
All right.
So it's 4 conferences times 3, that's 12. And then 10 conferences, 1 each, that's 10. 12 plus 10 is 20.
Without giving away your hand, you know who should be on that final list. You would have done your canvassing like any good candidate going into an election would. How are you looking on this Thursday?
Very positive. As I said, and I've been saying on all the interviews we've done before, we have the numbers. What we're hoping is that the electoral committee does the right thing and ensure that all the illegalities are not swept under the carpet. We're hoping that once the election is clean, once the proper delegates are authorized, then I think we have sufficient numbers to have that victory.
Last one before we go. You raised the issue. I've seen literature from your camp raising the issue about the spend of the GFA under Cheney Joseph's leadership in the last 2.5 years. Almost what, $13 million? I didn't see the currency. Is it EC dollars?
Eastern Caribbean dollars.
There you go.
Yes,
so about 13 million. So you say that 13 million has fallen into a hole in Grenada's football, and are these figures verifiable? Are these, where did you get these numbers from? Can we believe in the authenticity of the picture you're painting about monies not being spent properly or being unaccounted for?
So I'm not here saying that it's unaccounted for. What I'm saying is that over the last 3 years, well, not even 3 years, between January 2020 and today is what, June 9th, 2022, the GFA has received 12.69 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. And I can break it down for you. Every country in the world would have gotten $1 million in 2020 for operational costs, including Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, and everybody else. $1 million in US dollars in 2020, $1 million in 2021, and so far they've received half of the operation funds for 2022, which is 500,000 US dollars. So for operations, they would have received 2.5 million US dollars. Then they would have gotten $1 million US dollars for COVID support to help combat the impact of COVID. So that's 3.5 million. Then FIFA is saying, we know if we give you $1 million US dollars for COVID support, you may spend all that on men's football. So we give you extra 500,000 US for women's football development. So that's 3.5 and 5, that's 4 million US dollars so far. And then every year, Grenada gets 200,000 every year US dollars for travel solidarity. That means to help with the national team's travel. So they got 200,000 in 2020, 200,000 in 2021, and 200,000 in 2022. That's 4.6 million US dollars. And thereafter, every other year, Grenada gets 100,000 US dollars for equipment solidarity. So they got 100,000 in 2019. We're not going to count that. But they got 100,000 US dollars in 2021. So between 2020 and today, June 9, 2022, Grenada got 4.7 million US dollars. And if you do the math, I think you should come up with about 12.69 million Eastern Caribbean dollars.
Where has it been spent?
I'm not sure. The FA would say that it's been on the men's senior national team.
To play in which competition? To play in which competition?
I guess World Cup qualifying, Nations League. They're currently playing in Nations League. But that's for the president and the FA to show us their statements. Prove me wrong. I've been saying that for the last 2 weeks, and I've never heard the president or anyone from his camp come in and say to me that this is wrong. I'll say to the public that this is wrong. So I know for a fact that they received $12.6 million. And what we're hearing today is that the FA is broke. Like they have no money right now. So the question that you're asking, and I'm asking, and everybody's asking, what happened with that $12.69 million? And I do not believe there is any misappropriation of funds. I've never said it on the campaign. What I believe is that the FA is involved in a lot of bad spending. Every time we bring these 13 players from England, we spend probably $30,000, $40,000. And we bring them in probably 5, 6, 7 times a year. They went to a training camp in Miami since in February or March, which was never budgeted for. That's probably another $100,000. They went to play 2 of the minor league teams in Europe in March.
Yeah.
Whoever it was, again, another probably $150,000. So I think it's a lot of bad spending rather than any sort of misappropriation. I don't believe there's any misappropriation.
Hear you on that. Well, Marlon, the time is up. Bernadine, I want to thank both of you for speaking with us today. It's democracy, but we wish you all the best. If we were speaking with Cheney Joseph, we'd wish him all the best as well. We wish you all the best, and we hope that Grenada's football can win out at the end of this process. I'll leave this one with you, though, Marlon. There's a saying in Jamaica, when a dog has money, he buys cheese. So, I don't know, a lot of cash in Grenada, I don't know what is being spent on, but you surprised me when you said men's football, because I don't know Grenada's footballers to be doing a lot of traveling all over the region to play football to the tune of so much money, but I could be wrong. Thank you very much, we'll talk again.
Thank you.
Good. And again, just for the purposes of the viewers, we did invite Cheney Joseph to speak with us either today or tomorrow. His camp have declined. Thank you for watching SportsMax on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and to click the notification bell to stay informed.